let you know that, man.
That's amazing. I mean, you made my day, man. When I hear one soul has returned to the Father, it's like 1,000. It's better than silver and gold. So God bless you, man. Check out my book, For Race to Responsibility. I show you how I was able to overcome anger. The spirit of anger was taken away from me. I had it. And as a result of having anger, I was insecure. I had doubt, worry, fear. I was in a fallen state and didn't know it. And it wasn't until I went and forgave my mother, who tried to turn me away from my father. I forgave my father for not being there and returned back to him. My spirit connected with his spirit, and through him, I was able to return to God. And I have perfect peace. Perfect love casts out anger. And when anger is gone, fear and doubt, worry, insecurity, suicidal thoughts, all of that is gone, and you are free. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website at rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-BOND. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, on this fine Tuesday. What the? Getting ahead of ourselves here. Hold up. Tuesday, it's a fine Tuesday. Pleasure to have you here, okay? Got a bit of a show for you today. Stuff happening, you know, this and that. There's a grand fight, as you know. And it seems that at every turn, in any attempt to stop things like endless third worlders coming in, you get endless opposition. And it's happening across the world. I mentioned a little bit about AfD, this political party in Germany. And I wanted to just do a better report on that. Okay, I think you might find some of this interesting and understand the Bukele map, the mysterious Bukele map. I think you'll understand what I mean here when we get into it. But they're ending Section 8 maybe. So that's over maybe. Amazing. And a woman versus an Indian. Two intersectional, intersectional identities in a viral moment. Who will you support? Both stocks, I don't know. The female stock, wavering, but kind of what? Kind of going laterally, kind of doing just a lot of lateral movement, taking some big hits maybe. Indian stock, and this is just like public perception. That's a terrible thing, right? The people of the world are terrible. They're terrible. But Indian stock, pretty low. So, who will you side with? Look, there's plenty to get into. This and that. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Look, 888-775-3773. You got something on your mind, something you want to talk about? I am live on dlive.tv/Gorgonzola. Punchy.tv, make an account. Ivana making me laugh while I'm trying to do the housekeeping here. Welcome, everybody on YouTube. I see you in the chat. Make sure you click the like button. Don't be rude, okay? Oh, I got to give you something to like. Okay, fine. I guess that's what the like button is for. Whatever. Leave a comment. Maybe you don't like it. Leave a comment. Do whatever you got to do. Appreciate you being here. What else? 888-775-3773. All my amazing supporters. Super chats coming in. We'll get to all of those. We'll get to super chats and everything. So what else here? Look, I want to get into some of this, what's going on, authoritarianism, and kind of a better look at this mess. It seems like at every turn, only some people aren't allowed to defend their country and do just basic normal things. And it has to do with authoritarianism, regimes, factions, and all that. And so we'll get into that. But there's something I got to deal with first. I got to deal with this first. This came across my social medias, okay? I've seen stuff like this before, and it just so happens to be Teacher Appreciation Week. Look at that. Who's appreciating your teachers? Who had great teachers growing up? You know, that's probably changed a lot over the decades. Probably quite a lot. What kind of teachers did you have? You know, I heard, for example, there used to be more male teachers. I'm really trying to think about it. Elementary school. See, I went to some years in elementary school were in America as an anchor baby, as a little American anchor baby. And so those were a lot of women. I remember a black teacher. I don't remember any men in America. I don't remember. The first male teacher I remember is in Canada. And I think I'm already grade 6. I'm like grade 6, I think. I don't see another male teacher. I swear, I don't have another. I think I see other ones, but I don't have another male teacher till like high school. Well into it, too. Trying to really think about any male teachers that I remember. Not many. But I'm sure that's changed. Teacher Appreciation Week, you know, they got these weeks. They got the appreciation weeks. And something came my way. I'm scrolling. I'm looking. I'm seeing it all. I'm plugged in. I'm taking in the pain of the world for you. Filtering the noise. Injecting it straight into myself. And, of course, also imbuing myself with the toxic elements there. So you understand it's a sacrifice for all of you. Teacher Appreciation Week. And, you know, they got this thing. They got their fits, okay? They got their little fits. They got their outfits, the OOTD hashtag, a little outdated now, I think. The ladies might tell me, right? It's a fit now. Hashtag just your fit. It's a fit check. Used to be outfit of the day, OOTD. You might, you know, these teachers are a little older, right? So, you know, they're aging themselves a little bit with their hashtags, you know? It's like, update your hashtags. I don't know. But they're out here with their outfits of the day, okay? And this one particular substitute teacher is going viral. Okay. A new teacher reacts to people saying she's inappropriate for her shape after she started her first day at school. For all the haters, I was covered from my neck to my feet. I want you to watch this, okay? And tell me, is it just her shape? I've heard this before. You know, some women, they know their shape, their ample shape in certain areas at times, they say that merely on their shape alone, it's an offense. It's an offense. And how are they supposed to live? Like, you're telling me I'm covered from neck to feet, and I'm still inappropriate? You tell me, folks. Here's the teacher in question, substitute teacher in question. And so she's doing a little fit check and response to the haters. Let's watch a little bit. My first day as a substitute teacher.
So I did not expect this video to go viral, but yes.
Let me explain exactly what's happening. The video you're watching is something she had posted initially with the title, My First Day as a Substitute Teacher, and it got all these negative comments. She's reposting now. What we're hearing is her comment over her own video after the fact, after the attention online.
So I did not expect this video to go viral, but yes, this was my first day subbing.
Damn!
What the?
I was a music teacher that day. Everything was pretty cool.
Hey, don't look.
Pretty calm, collective. They were happy that I came to fill the position. My outfit was very casual. I was covered from the neck to my feet. So for the haters, call them get my mom.
I don't know if that was her or some audio. It sounded like it said, so for the haters, you know. So it's a big, I'm not sorry type thing. Helped with PE, son tore me down. What do you think, folks? Inappropriate? This pose is inappropriate. That's the how else do I put it, folks? What else do you call that pose? That's the let me jut it out there pose. Let me put it out there pose. That's what that is. You know when you turn the inner foot sideways, you're flipping out for the folks. So look, my first day as a substitute teacher, I was looking at the chat a bit. Do you think they're overreacting because she just has a certain shape? It's just a shape she has. How can you fault her for such a thing? I think it's inappropriate, right? Not even because of it. Well, maybe the outfit too. Let me be real. But what else are you supposed to? You put a bag over this person? Like, what, you got that shape, right? So, but put it like this: skin tight and all that. What gets me is their knowledge of this. Okay, their knowledge of this, like as if she did not know that this would be viral in this way, that it would gather attention in this way, that she stands in the way she does, and then feigns pretending like as if she does not know what she's doing here, right? Is the most egregious thing, right? This game, right? And I gotta say, it's actually quite perverted if you think about it. It's quite perverted. Like, put it like this. You get the other fits going on the social medias, okay? And it's like, okay, Nick, what's wrong with this? Like, she's got a fit on. Like, she's not wearing any skin tight, right? Look at her. She's normal. What is this? I'm trying to get the audio here. It's probably music. Right? She's all this is a modest woman, right? This is a absolutely modest woman who should be teaching children. Nothing wrong with her. Nothing wrong at all with her, right? This one's more modest. Now, what's the problem with this one? I think there's more of this one. Oh, yeah, there she goes. So I guess she likes the, more classic kind of look or something. I don't know if you call it classic, but she likes it, okay? She loves it. Look at my fits. I'm in the classroom. I'm the teacher. So you get it, okay? So she's doing the fits. It's social media. You get attention doing something, you're going to keep doing it. Like, not faulting the biz, but the thing is, even this, take this one in, even this is egregious for Principal Gonzalez. Principal Gonzalez. What are those toes? Did you know that only recently became acceptable? That's maybe a story for another time, but what's wrong with her? Let's mute that. She just has the fits, being all cute, right? No big deal. But Principal Gonzalez would shut this down right away. I'd be walking in the frame. Right away. What are you doing? You're fired. You're fired. So it's egregious to me. You know, the thing is, these women, they know what they're doing. They really do. And it's like that game, okay? It's like how far can I take it playing with stuff? And I know that for example, that last one is just being modest. But put it like this, it's all a big thirst trap. It's all a big thirst trap, hijacking the male attention. And you have to consider the position these women are in. and the position they consider it so important. They call it nurturing. They're nurturing the youth. Attention is perverted. That's the female perversion. If the male gaze is so perverted, if the male gaze is so wrong and perverted, what grabs the male's attention, so is the attention. So is the attention grabber, right? They can say, right? But what else was I thinking about this? What was that teacher? That was that teacher recently. And this happens more often than people like to think about. Female teachers getting caught with sexual relationships with students. Those are just the ones caught. I literally, when this stuff comes up, it reminds me I literally knew someone. This was years ago. I'm not which school. What was it? I don't know. There's no point in knowing that. But I was in school, and she was a student. She was a female student, friend of mine, with a female teacher. Hey, look. Hey, that's just the facts. This is the facts. I seen evidence. It's just the facts. But put it like this. There was a woman recently. She got caught, and these husbands they stand with them and all that. I don't know what to say about that. Like, be in that situation, I guess. But what I was gonna say is this particular one got caught. What she say? I'm sexually harassed. Actually, I just come to school and I get all this sort of attention. It's them. They're the ones that are wrong. The boys are the ones that are wrong. And so she's claiming sexual harassment. That's her defense, right? So Teacher Appreciation Week, it's quite perverted, I got to say. And it makes me think a bit about our society a little bit. My callers, the audience I have, and the things we watch, in many ways we came into all this. Trump. We saw that maybe the world was wrong about all this, this gay stuff and all this stuff, in a further way, maybe I should even return to God, Christianity, and in a further way, all sorts of, I'm sure we have all sorts of thoughts about I forgot where I was going with that. All sorts of thoughts of morality, essentially. Okay. Where was I going with that? Look, the point is, back to this. Look, those are probably even pretty tame. Let's be real. Look, the kids are out there. They post on TikTok too. Here's one. They're like, how normal female teachers dress. How normal female teachers dress. And so you get some I don't know, hey, hold up. Pantsuits, stuff, maybe we might have some comments even about the normal teachers, but hold on. This purported student on TikTok then reveals how they dress in my school versus how they dress in my school. And you get all this, oh, geez, that's just like a funny song. Versus how they dress in my school. The skin tights, the leggings, you're familiar with this. I'm sure you're familiar with what you're looking at. So I'm sure it's changed. Anyways, I kind of remember what I was saying. It was about perversion. And, or something about perversion, but it is kind of very sick, right? The society. I was just thinking a bit about the society we live in, right? The audience we have and the conclusions we may have, you and I have come up with concerning degeneracy. What's perverted, what's wrong in society. And the effects of it all, right? What it's causing. I think about just how perverted it is. Like moms walking around, like for example, the moms that walk around in the neighborhood. Okay, in the neighborhood around some of these neighborhoods around Bond, I'll be able to go out of the office, let's say, during hours when maybe the hubby would be at work. And now what do I see? I see the moms out there walking the dogs, and they're loving it. They're walking the dogs out there, and they're skin tight, and they're looking around. I see them. They look around. They look when they drive by. They're looking at the people going by. Do you see me? It is perverted, don't you think? And the perversion of the society is thanks to them in a sense. You have De Niro's son. Didn't De Niro's son go trans? Does De Niro's child, did he start male or start female? Pretty sure it started off male. De Niro's son. What's up with these actors and their sons? Their children. They go trans, but Aaron, or what's his name? Her name, Aaron De Niro. My journey as a trans woman. I don't know what to tell you, folks. It's just
trans. In an exclusive interview with Them magazine, Erin De Niro opened up about navigating her transition journey and her identity. She said, trans women being honest and open, especially in public spaces, helped her realize, maybe it's not too late for me. A few media publications commented on Erin's transformation after she was snapped by paparazzi last month, wearing heels and long pink locks, calling her look rebellious and barely recognizable. Commenting on this, the 29-year-old tells them, not only did they get information wrong about me, they just sort of reminded me that people really don't know anything about me.
They don't know anything about me. This is me. This is me. You know the language. You're familiar with it now, by now. This is me. It's like, you know what? Do what you want, right? You know me. You know me, personally. I don't trip. But this language, this mentality, and they go after the kid. What's up with that? Now, this is not a kid. This is not a kid. This is not a kid. Let's be real. But when you consider De Niro, let's consider De Niro for a second. What's he? He's got that fever. Is he still married to this woman, wife, or did she divorce? Right. I think that woman divorced him. That's right. I kind of remember this. But De Niro's got a bit of that fever. Okay. He's got to have the black woman. The black woman is God, is the queen. I don't know. I'm just trying to make jokes. But De Niro, he had 2 black wives, and I think they both. I think the second one I sort of remember, but it didn't. You know, divorce is never nice. So you can at least, if we're gonna assume anything, you can assume that, right? But I'm trying to get that right. It says 2018. That denotes the end of a marriage, right? 2018. Who cares? Who cares? Divorce. Yeah. Grace Hightower, second wife, divorce. That's how it went down. I might remember, we may have mentioned that or something, but hey, that's the way she goes. Problems at home. What I was trying to say about going after the children now, this Aaron individual, forget the name that they originally had, is not a child, but you're De Niro. And you got your son, you got your black wife who, I gotta say, you gotta assume they're not getting along, right? You divorce. Now your son is like, I'm a woman. And you're like, well, you know what? That's my son. That's my child. I gotta support my child, and boom, you see the avenue that this world has. You know, this LGBT world has. They love I don't know how else to put it. They love the children in that way. They love, you know, getting at the children and affirming their identity. But it's all a false thing. And that language, you know, I wonder if that came from Daddy. Who I am, you know, I think Daddy eventually relents. Is how it goes. Well, it's what my child says he is. But anyways, where was I with this perversion of this world? And they celebrate this. You understand this, right? They celebrate this. So perverted. But the men are demonized, right? Even the Christians, the Christian ladies. On Punchy, we had a Christian lady on Punchy. Oh, my husband. She would see it as cheating if her husband would watch porn, for example. Saw something like that. Is it quasi cheating if you look at someone in the street? Like, what is the levels here? Quasi cheating. So check this one out. If I may further finish this off, then we'll move on. We got other things to talk about. But if I may further show you, then it seems to me like everywhere I look, there's very it doesn't seem like we got a handle on. Put it like this. What am I trying to say? the prognosis doesn't look good on will we figure it out? Will we figure it out with each other, ladies? When you see things like, well, how do I put this? Like, just watch this, for example. Just watch this. Michael Knowles here. Individual I only see every now and again, right? I don't even watch Daily Wire. I keep an eye on things. Take the news in and all that. Michael Knowles here in a clip that's getting some attention. On abortion, okay? He's telling you, share this to your pro-abortion friend, okay? He's got some news for your pro-abortion friend. Guess what? You didn't consider this one, pro-abortion friend. If only you knew this little factoid. Let Michael Knowles educate you.
Big study just came out. Big study done by the Ethics and Public Policy Center, very respected think tank. 11% of women who take the abortion pill will suffer health consequences, serious health consequences as a result. And the left doesn't want you to know about this, and the pro-abortion lobby doesn't want you to know about this. The abortion pill is not just a minor issue in pro-life advocacy. The abortion pill now constitutes the majority of abortions. Most women who kill their babies do so with the abortion pill. That wasn't true 5 years ago. It is true now. So we should, one, focus our efforts on limiting the abortion pill or eradicating it if it's possible. And the way that we do that is not merely by yelling at people. It's by showing the myriad ways in which the abortion pill is harmful.
Oh my gosh. Michael, no. Oh, thank you. I didn't know. That's all it was. The left and the industry, they're keeping this from you. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know that this abortion pill kills stuff inside of you and possibly you a bit. They don't want you to, they don't. If only they knew. Man, I got to hear him say that again, exactly think what I was saying here.
The abortion pill now constitutes the majority of
abortions.
Right. Most women
most women are doing the pill now.
Do so with the abortion pill. That wasn't true 5 years ago.
All right, what do we have to focus our efforts on, Michael?
It is true now. So we should, one, focus our efforts on limiting the abortion pill or eradicating it if it's possible. And the way that we do that is not merely by yelling at people. It's by showing the myriad ways in which the abortion pill is harmful.
That's all it was. They just need to know. Isn't it women themselves that tell us, if you don't let us have the abortion, we're going to go into some alleyway and kill them with a coat hanger or whatever? You know, and they may not put it that colorfully, but isn't that one of the main things they'll say? It's like, you have to have abortion or else the people are going to go out and do it anyways in a terrible way and hurt themselves and hurt the women will hurt themselves. They never think about children, childbirth society, continuation, whatever, stuff like that. That's what they tell you, don't they say? You can't do that because we're going to go kill them anyways in the alleyway. So you can't. So he's like, we got to work. We got to focus our efforts on getting rid of the pill. And, it's just funny to really think about it. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Honestly, I think a more effective thing, a sincerely more effective thing, I think, would be just don't make babies with those kinds of women. Refuse. Absolutely refuse to have a relationship, have a baby with a woman like that. A woman that won't obey, et cetera, I heard Jesse say a long time ago that men should learn to deal with women and not run away from women. And I've heard that commentary be used on like MGTOW, for example, and I honestly don't know much about them. It's been, I don't even know if are they even around? Like, it's something that had some attention some time ago, but it's not something I'm familiar with. Men going their own way. But I built something on that comment, I got to say, when I really think about it, on you got to learn to deal with women. And I was wrong for that, honestly, because if you know anything about people, about Jesse, people how do I put this? Evolve like a real person does, a real person. Yet his messages stayed the same in a powerful way for 30 plus years. But he's a person, right? You know, you don't put someone on a pedestal. You're wrong for that. And then when you do that, you're going to feel betrayed. And you're going to be a dummy feeling betrayed. You're really going to be a total dummy ruining your own life feeling betrayed because you put someone on a pedestal, right? Let's be real for a moment. What would be the most effective thing here? Not marrying women like that. And when you really think about it, there is no point in marrying women. You know, average women, whatever. A woman, if you're going to marry a woman, right, today, if we're in my audience, the conversations I've had with my callers, what you're saying is you have the exception in a sense. And so be it. That's not a bad, I'm not saying no, etc. But let me just put it a better way. There is no, put it like this. If there's no point in marrying women today, let me put it a different way. There is no reason to have to settle. There's no reason for that. Think about it. Oh, you know, I fight with her. She doesn't obey. She's a little bit of a feminist, but you know, she's a good girl. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? How else will women learn, in a sense? Because they're only trying to control the men. When you really think about it, they're only trying to control the men. So even the Korean women, I got to say, when I really think about it, it's a posture. It's a posture. You know, the women there out there in Korea saying, we're not even going to have children anymore. They say they have the lowest birth rate in the world. In the developed world, the lowest birth rate is in South Korea, they say. And the women out there have these crazy movements. They are saying no until men treat them as a different way or whatever. They get what they want, honestly. Militantly. They will refuse to have relationships, have sex, have children with men. And you start putting things together. You're like, wow, are women that evil? And yes, they are, but they're posturing, honestly. They're just trying to control the men, so just walk away. The birth rates will not collapse further if men kind of got a handle on it, right? Because that's why the birth rates are low. The women out of control. So anyways, and how else will there be a lesson in a sense, like, or put it like this, here's another thing. You don't need to. You don't need to debase yourself and be women too. Women don't need to do that for men. When you really think about it in today's world, like without thinking about what's right and what's wrong in morality, in today's world, why would you have to do that? You can get everything you want. You can get men too. You can get everything you want without having to do that, without having to potentially get yourself in like some prison, some sort of contractual prison, right? You don't have to. You could get, the men and the women can get what they want. I'm not saying this is going to make you happy. I'm just saying you could get sex, you could do all that. But anyways, perverted, don't you think? And a little bit short-sighted on Michael Knowles, in my opinion, in that we just don't yell at them. Don't yell at people. You know, just don't yell at them. They just don't know the abortions kill. They don't know the abortions kill children.
People, it's by showing the myriad ways. The left says, oh, the abortion pill, it's totally fine. It's wonderful. No big deal. Come on, go kill your kids. No one will have to know. You can do it in the comfort of your own home, which is why abortions have ticked up since the Dobbs decision. It's not because of the Dobbs decision. It's because the Dobbs decision coincided with this technological advancement and legal laxity for the abortion pill, which allows women...
Anyways, I was just letting this play a bit. Sorry, let me get situated here. Watch this a little bit.
Even having the stigma of walking into a Planned Parenthood. Well, what this study found was that more than 1 in 10 women who take mifepristone, the abortion pill, will...
A memory just flooded back. I actually remember. What was it? This must have been early Trump. Must have been 2016 even. And I found myself, we were out partying. We were partying a bit. We were out there. Shout out Hamilton, Ontario. We ended up at this girl's house and we were chilling out. We were talking and it was a group of girls and a couple guys. And the guys, what ended up happening? The point is, we were all kind of like leaving, and I was pretty much the last guy waiting for an Uber or something like that. And abortion came up. I remember abortion came up somehow. And, you know, I remember at this time I had been hearing people kind of say, oh, Jesse, I woke up, but I kind of overreacted. I went around talking about it when I shouldn't. So, you know, I had this mentality. I had this mind. There's something that was like sort of stopping me from being crazy. But it came up. It came up, and they loving it. Look, when people are in mutual combat, they love it. They love it. They're like loving it. They're like, what are you saying, abortion? I was like, wait, hold on. Maybe this abortion thing is crazy. Like, let's really think about this. So we just kind of assuming this. One girl pipes up in this crowd. It was just a group of girls. One girl pipes up and says, I had an abortion. So what are you saying about me? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, I don't know. Same thing, same deal. It was irresponsible. Probably, like, I don't know. Straight up, I was just saying. I was like, it was probably irresponsible. Let's be real. You know, whatever. I remember another girl raising her hand, actually, against all the other girls. She was like, you know what? I actually agree with him. She was kind of into me, I think. But, hey, that's that influence. I don't know what to say. But that's just a little anecdote. What was I saying with that? Look, I just remember the girl not caring. I remember her not caring. I remember really not feeling bad at all. I remember her not feeling bad about it and saying that. So moving on, whatever. Perverse. You know, it's like in the government. What is this I'm getting here? Politico. Pentagon to resume medical care for transgender troops. Look, you got this ongoing...
Face a serious health
this is a great example, too, of this ongoing factional dispute. You know, you got Trump. You got people. You got him voted in. You got this mandate, as they say. And there's endless debate as to how constitutional, how proper all this is supposed to be. But it's just endless opposition, right? And you're supposed to have some of that, as we've been taught, right? In our democracy, so to speak. But all that gets stretched, all that gets blurred, you know, and that's become so clear. It has to have been, for those paying attention, with Trump being around. The lawfare, the endless lawfare, the judges going against him. And you got all sorts of criticisms of fair, and I love hearing them, you know, I don't know what I'm saying with that. I've never denied them. What I'm saying with that is there's this notion of, you know, ineffective Trump government. And I'm watching and seeing, right? I'm quite happy with the man, I got to say. I think if you consider what you call the Overton window, what is in the allowed discourse, what is even in the allowed, because, you know, there's all sorts of things that you could say, well, you know, we got free speech, we could say this and that, but there is an allowed discourse, whether it's left, right, what's online, what's otherwise, and there are different factors that determine this. Censorship, other things. But the public, what the public's comfortable with, really. And the Trump world has done some crazy work on that. We'll get into that. But you got this, the Pentagon. You got Trump, right? He comes in, he's saying, this is ridiculous. Where the American taxpayer is, in effect, paying for surgeries of something that's not real, something that's insane. And you got the Pentagon saying, as it says here, will resume gender-affirming care for transgender service members, according to a memo obtained by Politico. An embarrassing setback to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's efforts to restrict their participation. They gloat about it. They say, hey, we know you want to do things normal, but we get to force the taxpayer to pay for these surgeries. The memo says the Defense Department is returning to the Biden-era medical policy for transgender service members due to a court order that struck down Hegseth's restrictions as unconstitutional. They're appealing the move. And as a result, the administration is barred from removing transgender service members or restricting their medical care, a priority of Trump and Hegseth. You know, the way they write these things. It's their priority to restrict medical care for transgenders. It's insane language how they use it. You know, their crime is their desire to have a strong, mentally well, stable military. And it's just a known thing. It's just a fact. These people are not well. these people are rarely well. The people the stronger and harder you go into this identity crap, the weirder you are, the more unstable, the more emotionally unstable you are, the more any little thing could throw you off. But what's crazy about the world today is it seems like everybody's so into this emotion cult. Everyone's so into this emotions cult that everyone's so crazy that you look at a transgender, you look at that one they call Rachel, whatever this person's name is, with the long hair as clearly a guy, and you got to say, well, that's a girl, and you can't say that they're even that crazy because it's like everybody's into the emotions cult, and if you offend somebody, it's you can get paid leave and stuff like that. They got this whistleblower, one of those whistleblower videos, you know, when I don't know, these people keep getting caught in these videos, and I don't know if it happens so much that people are that dumb, or it's maybe these are overblown. I can't even tell you the validity of it all, but they are saying they are reporting that this is confirmed that this is a DHS refugee officer. He's caught in one of these videos where they go on this coffee date or something, and he's being filmed revealing stuff about, for example, his department. This is the federal government for you. Just want you a little taste of it, okay? It is somewhat interesting.
Remotely, so I don't get to.
And this emotions cult, okay? And this might be one of those things that is hard to hear. So let's give it a little try. Let's see how the audio is on this.
Face to face. We have like our happy hours.
Okay.
Like
He's describing what his workplace is like. And he's saying we have our happy hours once a month.
and I sit down on our first happy hour and I realize, holy sh**.
I sit down for one of our first happy hours and I realized, holy ish, everybody's gay. And you know, is he judging? I don't know. It's one of those things, you know, it's they call it a gaydar, but you know, hey, I'm not a bigot. Whatever.
Everybody's gay.
So he's saying everybody's gay in his workplace.
Everybody you work with?
Everybody. Everybody's like a lesbian.
Everybody's a lesbian.
Gay.
Or in a toxic relationship. See, that's a little bit of a caveat, right? Because that now you got a whole bunch of straight people there. Just a little shout out, right? Not demon. Anyway.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. Right now we're doing nothing. Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's kind of a shame. Like they don't, because they were like no more refugee resettlement. So for the past, since the beginning of this administration, we've just been doing paperwork, which is amazing.
That's pretty nice to hear, huh? He's out of work. He's out of work because there's no refugee resettlement. That's kind of nice to hear. Right on, Trump. Right on, Mr. President, you know. I know they're doing something. They're trying their best, I think. In my opinion, they seem to be trying their best. It's a massive problem. And, yeah, so that's nice to hear, right? He's out of work. But what are they doing with all their free time?
Amazing and how
it's amazing how boring it can be.
We have a coloring wall.
They have a coloring wall. Oh, that's cute. They have a coloring wall?
A coloring wall. Literally a coloring wall.
Oh, coloring.
Yeah, we have coloring.
Is this guy in a toxic relationship or in one of the other relationships he mentioned? I don't know. I'm just beep, 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 beep. Like anyways.
Books because we're so bored. There's nothing to do. So all of our art gets put up on the wall.
All of your art gets displayed on the coloring wall.
We've been doing a bunch of training, and we've been giving each other like fake Microsoft Word printout accomplishment letters of how amazing we are. We had like some funny things going on.
Taxpayer-funded safe spaces. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you're familiar with this. This is not like a... Look, it's just the point is you get it. I'm sure you're familiar with some of this. This cult. But this cult is beyond even trans, man. It's like emotional. Coloring walls. Safe spaces. It's female. Anyways, it's the deep gay state. And there's proof. It's proof. I'm not just making that up. That's not even hyperbole. I'm not even making jokes. You might be laughing. But it's the deep gay state. The deeply gay state. That's just a fact. Why are you gay? 888-775-3773. I had some people calling me there. I will get to you. I was on my thing. But call me back. I'll get back to you. You know, a couple people there. I wanted to, talking about all this, I think it lets us get into this. I had mentioned this the other day. It allows us to report on this. Okay. So how do I put this? Because I just briefly mentioned this. So you got to know about AFD, essentially. Alternative für Deutschland. Alternative für Deutschland. Right? It's a party over there. It's a party, a political party there, okay? You can vote for them, etc. A right-wing, which they call a right-wing, far-right political party, okay? They were founded in 2013. And they've grown a lot. They've grown quite a bit in the last 10 years, especially in the last few. And this is important because you see, since 2013, there's been problems. Put it like that. There's been problems arising. You see in the modern age, you had Europe, and they defeated racism. Not only did they defeat all wars in the First World War, then you had to have a Second World War, but that's neither here nor there. Then they defeated racism. They defeated racism, and they said all people will have, we're really all equal. It's just ideas. It's just like that, right? And in the modern age, it really started to unravel, okay? With the third world entering Europe, you've had clashes. And you don't need me to tell you that at this point. But you can look it up. But they've had all sorts of clashes. Besides the criminal element of the populations coming in, causing ruckus, everything from ruckus to rapes, let's be real. You have neighborhoods and whole areas experience major demographic change, a major change to all sorts of neighborhoods and areas, okay? And this is essentially, whether perceived or real or wrong or right or otherwise, is essentially the reason why this party has gotten so much attention. And you could call it perceived, you could call it brainwashing, you could call them racist. Oh, these Germans are just racist. Or you could call them all sorts of things, but that's why. That's why they're getting all this attention. They have concluded they need to deal with these things, with immigration, with their cultural identity, with the continuation of their nations, birth rates, and so for some people. For some, it's quite racial, but et cetera. That's just how it goes. And the news is this party here that's gotten all this attention over the years has also had their opposition. It's come to a head, this is from Euronews, as the AFD has been designated as a right-wing extremist organization by the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution, which is some, I have to assume, wing of the government over there in Germany, Deutschland. They have designated the Alternative for Deutschland as a right-wing extremist organization, meaning authorities can step up their surveillance of the party. And this is the story from Euronews. This AFD has filed a lawsuit against the country's agency tasked with protecting the Constitution after being designated as extremists. The spokesperson for AFD's told the news agency that a letter outlining this was sent to the responsible administrative court in Cologne. They've been designated as this extremist organization, concluded after intensive examination over a 3-year period that racist and anti-Muslim stances advanced by the party were incompatible with the free democratic order set out in the country's constitution. Its positions on individuals with a migrant background were based on an ethnic ancestry-based understanding of German identity. This is the reasoning. This is the stated reasoning why this party is being designated as extremists, because they have what they are stating as an ethnic ancestry-based understanding of German identity, implying that this is a outdated, but admitting that it was once this. What are they saying with that? What is an ethnic ancestry-based understanding? It just means that your mama and your daddy were German, and that your mama and your mama's mama and your daddy's daddy were German. You understand? They're saying when this African that came in yesterday to Germany as a refugee or whatever, and they kill or do whatever to commit some crime, and you come out and say, hey, you know what? This person even shouldn't be here. This person honestly shouldn't be here. That's not a German. Ethnically or otherwise, they don't even care about the country. You can't even make that argument. They'll say you have an outdated understanding, an ethnic ancestry-based understanding, which is the understanding of every nation. Consider that for a moment. Consider that all the people that are going into Germany, they have an ethnic ancestry-based understanding of their identity. But it's insane, right? So that constitutes. What does that mean? They are putting in words exactly what has changed in Germany. They're making that clear in plain Deutsch. I'm sure translated for me here. They've made that clear that what has changed in Germany and who has changed it. I don't know. We'll talk about. I just don't know. But what has changed is that. Didn't that change in America? Right? Wasn't America jus sangri or whatever they call it? Rights of the blood of the ethnicity as opposed to rights of the soil. That's a modern thing. What is changing that in these nations? Now you can call it good or bad and all that. I haven't yet said, right? But put it like this, it's going to be bad in the interim. Germany will fall, and something new will come in its place if it hasn't already. And it'll be good or bad. I can't tell you. I don't know the future. But it'll be bad in the interim. And have you seen the nations of these peoples? Like, I just don't have high hopes, but who knows? Germany, as it stands today, I'm sure is far from what it used to be, too, when it was an ancestry-based ethnicity, blah, blah, blah. So well before AFD and immigration and all that. So there's a lot to be said there, I'm sure. But what gets to the point of all this, it seems to be that everywhere you look, where, I don't know, it seems to me white people in the white nations, they are unable, not allowed to, in a real way, materially protect their countries. And it comes to a head in a real proven way with immigration. That one is just it's one that's so unraveled, and you see the effects of it. But people can vote away. What was Brexit about? Wait, consider Brexit for a second. That was a referendum on some of this. The British decided enough. And it's been endless immigration ever since. Another thing that gets me about this, though. Wait, so am I done with this? I think so. The point is, you see this at every turn. It seems like the Western nations, the post-World War II nations, the white European nations, the American nations, they are not allowed to. They are not actually allowed to democratically protect their nation, etc. And what else? I wanted to make a quick point before I move on here. Whatever is materially in control of Deutschland, for example, I can't tell you. I'm not sure. I'm ignorant on a lot. On the identifying kind of details of whatever this faction is, I can't tell you. But I'll tell you this: they don't like white people. Their reasoning for doing all this is to stop racism, to stop anti-Muslim rhetoric, etc. That is their reasoning for this, and that's what I know. And you're going to see the same relationship when we talk about a couple of things later here. But I hear one thing I wanted to say about this. I was thinking about this. I hear people say, "Well, that's scary." You know, when it seems like there's no freedom anywhere when you have a country that can go after their political enemies. What an authoritarian country. It's getting scary. But, you know, everyone's an authoritarian. Like that Bukele map where he corrected the liberals and reminded everyone that it's an authoritarian regime everywhere. It's just a matter of who's in charge. And who's in charge will censor who they want to and who they think they need to. and what they think is correct for the regime and for the country, for whatever. Okay? I mean, that's just how it is. Look at America. There's this bill that was shot down that was an attempt to put it like this. Here's the from New York, and then we're going to get to calls here. Appreciate you holding. I'm going to get to calls here. There's this bill, which was axed. In the New York Post, it reads, House axes vote on Israel boycott bill. The Republican House leaders axed a planned vote on a Monday for a bill intended to protect Israel from boycotts amid a backlash from some conservatives over free speech concerns. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz compared the provisions in the legislation to the 10th biblical plague of Egypt. If this bill becomes law, how many Israeli products do I need in my home to avoid fines or prison? Gaetz asked. If I leave an Israeli-made product outside my home, is it the 2025 version of lamb's blood that keeps my family safe? This bill, titled the International Governmental Organizations Anti-Boycott Act, would extend existing anti-boycott legislation that bars Americans from complying with bans imposed by foreign countries to also forbid compliance with boycotts imposed by international governmental organizations like the United Nations. So the legislation doesn't mention Israel explicitly, but the Jewish state has been the target of these boycotts, etc. And, some people came out saying this is a free speech thing. You're telling us, for whatever reason, whatever it is, when it comes down to this language, however you feel about Israel, etc., Americans have the right to boycott, and etc. So for many, the language was too far, but I bring this up because I'm trying to express this tug of war that even with Trump, in a sense, no, that's not even fair to say. Because this is like Congress. So I don't know if it's fair to say with Trump, but with the American government, it's a tug of war. There's a tug of war in all sorts of places. Consider the Vatican in choosing the Pope. They lock up these 100 or so cardinals in this church. They lock them up and they have to decide. They can't leave until they decide on a Pope. But what happens when they're in that church? They start breaking up into little factions. The Africa, the ones that are against who want like a black pope and not a non-white pope, they team up and they have a faction. The faction that wants more liberal reforms of the Catholic Church, they have a faction. Those that want to remain conservative and maybe even bring it back, etc. The world's authoritarian and its regimes and all that. Okay. Now, when I see, for example, I see Trump. It wasn't Trump. Sorry, it was J.D. Vance and Rubio. They were bringing attention to the AFD and them being, in their opinions, wrongfully investigated in all this. They don't find that to be fair. And so I see whatever faction that is at least appreciates those aspects of the AFD. And so I start that's how I kind of conclude things in my mind about these people. And when it comes to, what was I saying, with Trump and all that? Look, it's a tug of war. I don't know how else to put it. Before, you couldn't even really mention it, and it was a mystery. I didn't even know about it till October 7th, and I'm like, okay, well, let's consider Israel for a second. Never done that. But now it seems like the overtone window has opened up in a large way, and the tug of war is obvious. There are some they want war against Iran, and those that don't. And who wants that? Israel and Iran. And so that is affecting over here. It's just how it goes. But also that it's not a total thing. So anybody out there freaking out, tell me where I'm wrong. You can call me. There's people out there freaking out. There's people out there emotional about it. It's proof it's an ongoing tug of war. It's not this total domination. So grow up, right? Grow up and get with how the world works. Type deal with that. But anyways, I wanted to finish this off because this thing on extremists is interesting and important because consider for a second, who are the extremists in America? They've already been designated. They've already been designated by the government. They've gone up on stage and said it. The white domestic extremists. That's who they say. Now, This same faction who has designated the white extremists here are the same ones designating the AFD as anti-Muslim and anti-this and that, and that's what makes them extremists. You're an extremist for wanting to keep America majority white, American, the original identity, etc. And that's just too far. It matters. It continues to matter because, look, in the wake of all this, you have, and we're going to thank the Times of India for this one, right on. Genocidal language. This is a little news concerning Ilhan Omar. I'm sure you're familiar with her. But listen up to this one. Genocidal language. J.D. Vance blasts Ilhan Omar's call to profile white men. That's the call from Ilhan Omar. Being condemned by J.D. Vance, her remarks calling for the profiling and monitoring of white men in the United States. Labeling them as genocidal language. I don't know, Times of India, you might want to check this. Labeling them as genocidal language. Like what? Labeling white men as genocidal language? We're doing our best here. The controversy stems from a resurfaced... Oh, I remember this now. Is that what this is? This is just a resurfaced video J.D. Vance commented on? It still fits and it's still important because you got to remember, the extremists have already been designated in America. They've already been designated. And they merely just want the simple right thing to be done.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men. I would say...
So you get it. You know, I know racism is over. You defeated racism, white people. You did it. World War II, all those millions dead. Racism is done, except for the rest of the world. And even half of you guys. Even half of the white people. You know, so you only, you know, in that scenario, you're going to lose. In that scenario, you are going to be consumed. You're going to be consumed and defeated by an enemy that wishes to do so. Anyways, what else? What else about this? Let's do some calls, super chats, and the like. I got more stuff for you. We got to deal with a couple things here. We still got a couple interesting things to deal with today. But how about we do this? We got Robert who's been holding. Thank you, man. Appreciate you holding. Give me 1 sec here. Let me unmute you. Robert, Kansas, you're on the air.
Hey, Nick.
How you doing, Robert? Go ahead.
Good, man. You hear me? So, you know, you talk about what's wrong with Germany, and then I know you're from Canada, so I would say, okay, what's wrong with France? What's wrong with England, too? The same thing.
With France, Canada, England, Germany?
Yeah, or China.
Or even China. Well, I don't know where you're going with this. China. I'm not sure how you're thinking about it. So in my mind, I see the first group as tied up in this old order. But
there's some free countries, right? Like North Korea, Iran.
In a sense, you could call it, yeah, in a sense, that's an interesting way of putting it. I don't know exactly how you're thinking about it, but in a sense, you could see North Korea. What else? Could you see Russia, maybe Russia?
Russia, yeah.
Iran. They are like the only legitimate, legitimate actors, legitimate opponents to this liberal world order. This is just got my crude summary in my mind.
Well, yeah, I think you're right about your initial sort of understanding that where you would see that they're not under Jewish control.
Now, how do you conclude that?
So
how do you conclude? I want to know how you get to that conclusion where you say, we both agree that there are some nations that seem to be against this liberal order, right? This whatever order has been established in the world. There's some more than others, but some are totally out there, right? Militant about it, right? Like North Korea. Some you can say, right? And on the other side of that equation is Jewish control. I want to understand how you make that conclusion.
Well, in terms of like what controls governments, there is a what's called a, like when you ask me about Russia, why is Russia in trouble now? Is that they have made their private they made their private central bank, they made it national, where they would keep their own money in their country.
Russia did.
In 2007, yes, Putin made a speech. He said that we're freeing ourselves from the slavery of like what we would call taxes or interest on our debt to a private central bank like the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
Russia made themselves independent of that private central banking system in 2007. Putin made a speech. He cried on stage. Putin literally cried on stage. And ever since then, Russia has been in a lot of trouble because they're not paying their wealth to the private owners of money creation.
So help me understand. I'm sorry. I'm following so far. Please say what you wanted to say. I just want to understand something before we move on too fast. Did I cut off an important point, or can I ask you about this 2007 Munich speech and stuff? So
yeah, it's your show, Nick. Go ahead.
2007. I'm just kind of looking it up now, and yeah. So it seems like Putin, 2007, in a now famous speech, he blasted the U.S.-led unipolar world, accusing it of overstepping national borders in economic, political, cultural, educational policies, imposing its own rules through, soft power, etc. And this started some sort of push towards financial sovereignty. Is that fair? So financial sovereignty. I want to understand why is this financial sovereignty, like what is that, first of all? What makes a country financially sovereign, right? Because I've heard people say this, like, oh, countries are all under the central bank system, and some countries try to get out of that. I want to understand what makes a country financially sovereign, and why is that a threat to anybody else?
Well, it's a threat to those who make the money. The private central banking system. It's run out of primarily Switzerland. It's owned by the Jews. Is why we go back to the Jews. Like when I say, who runs China? You'd say, well, obviously it's the communist Chinese government and Xi Jinping. But who actually runs China are the ones who print the money of China, who are the private central bankers. And
it's all run out of Switzerland? You got to understand how that sounds to me, right? You're saying that all banks are controlled out of this international, the whole international banking system is controlled out of Switzerland.
And when there was a Chinese uprising, right? Whenever the Ukrainian Nazis in 2019 went to Wuhan, China, and informed the Chinese people of who actually controls their country, why they have a one-child policy, why they are being enslaved and controlled in a worldwide government, the Wuhan people rose up. And of course, you see the reaction of COVID-19 and the putting down of the Chinese people who found out who was really running their country and destroying them, just like they do every other nation. They tried to rise up.
You're going somewhere else. No. Like, it's a bunch of facts. I'm not saying they're not wrong, but you're going away from my initial question, which was, how do you, Robert, know this to be a fact, that there are these two sides of the coin in the world and how it's broken up in your mind? You're either one of these free nations that have gone against this global system, like North Korea or something like that, or you're under Jewish control. And you've made some point, right? You're saying that the other nations are under this banking system, and this banking system is controlled by the Jews in Switzerland, right? But it's how do you know that? Like, it's just, you got to understand how that sounds to me. It's just...
Yeah, well, I don't know anything, Nick, that's for sure. I did want to talk about Trump, though. I called in about Trump and Hegfest.
Okay.
You know, okay.
So no
Hegfest,
answer on that. You won't be able to clear that mystery up for me.
No, I can't satisfy you, Nick. You're too much of a strong man for me to, really produce a good answer.
All right. Go say what you want to say about Trump.
Okay, so Hegseth, right? Hegseth, what happened? If you can reiterate for me, Nick, like, he couldn't get the gays or the transgenders out of the military, or because somebody stopped him or whatever.
Correct. It seems to be. The story seems to be the Pentagon has gone in against this order and is citing some court order. I forget.
Yeah, and
let
then
me pull that up.
Trump also being gay, right? Like Trump.
What'd you say?
Is obvious. Trump is gay, man.
Why are you acting ridiculous, Robert? You make me wonder why I take your calls, because I don't think that you're like a necessarily nasty person or don't like us. I think you like us, but I sometimes don't know if you're just trying to troll. Man. No, I think you're actually being serious. I'm maybe overreacting. You really think Trump is gay? You really think that?
Trump will not build a wall, bro. He won't build a wall.
You like sincerely think that?
No, he just is acting like he might be, like, like not necessarily homosexual, but like just gay, man. Like not like he won't build the wall.
Ah, so just colloquially gay. Oh, he's just, man, that's pretty gay, man. You should just build a wall. Huh? Anyways, enough of the games. What are you saying about it? Make your point.
Well, no, like when I was in middle school and we called each other
No.
gay.
Make your point about. I got you, man. You maybe meant to, maybe you didn't. I don't care. No harm, no foul, nothing personal. I'm not taking it personal. Get to what you want to say about Trump. Let's keep it moving.
No, man, he could sign an executive order. You got a $1 trillion military budget. It would cost a fraction of that to build a wall. The country would be safe.
Are you simply saying this? Are you just trying to say that you don't believe this? Make your point. You're basically, I'll do it for you. You're basically saying, you don't believe this when the administration wants to do something, but then something comes up in the way, some sort of obstacle. You're saying that that them not being able to operate due to these obstacles is false, is a little hyped up, trumped up, so to speak.
Yeah, they pick and choose where they're like, yes, we were blocked by the courts, and they just don't do anything. When
how do you know that you might be true? You might be right. Like, well, how do you make that conclusion? I'd like to know.
Because you could sign an executive order and allocate funds and build a wall within 6 weeks. There are contractors out here that could do it. They're professionals. Trump's a real estate guy. He acts like he can't build a wall. It's just I don't want to cuss on your show.
You make a good.
Bro.
You don't make You don't make a bad point necessarily. You're basically bringing up a bright idea you had and something that you believe is in the possibilities. But you don't necessarily know if Trump is doing that maliciously and is using that as an excuse. You're saying he might be.
I just know he won't build a wall, and he just.
But will you answer that question? Will you at least agree that you just don't know that?
I'll answer the question by saying that it is the largest port of the world between two borders
man.
in the entire world.
I'm trying to be reasonable
Mexico
here.
and America. And it has more drugs. And
I know this. But listen, Robert, you're going away from it. I'm really trying to be reasonable here. You're saying that Trump is just using these excuses and these obstacles. He could do what he wanted to for whatever reason.
Unless he does.
But I'm just saying, yes. I just want you to, the point I'm trying to get past this is because if you admit that, okay, I really don't know that, then what makes you say, what makes Robert the smart guy that knows exactly how Trump should handle it? Because if we can both agree, if I could be reasonable with Robert for a second and agree, you know what? Kind of like that Greg Abbott guy. He has every right to go against whatever activist judge, even whatever BS they say to him. It's his duty to protect the border. We could say that about Trump. And all I'm trying to say is that even though I can agree with you on that, I don't know exactly what he should do. He may be doing exactly that. He may, in fact, be doing that, and we don't know that, and we're overreacting. Because, put it like this, didn't he start jailing judges? He jailed that judge, you know. There's a window of what's allowed and what people are comfortable with and all that. And Trump is playing within that. You know, they call it the Overton window and all that. What do you think about that, Robert? Could it be that he's attempting to do all these things, but, you know, it's us overreacting, thinking he should just go against the crowd and do it our way, and who are we to say that? What do you think about that?
I think that Greg Abbott is the globalist of globalists. That he's faking that he's in a wheelchair. He's faking the whole thing, and that he is destroying Texas from the inside out. And it's going to be Mexico soon, and that's okay with me. I don't live in Texas anymore. That's all right. You know, make it Mexico again. But, you know, it's, he's just using his wheelchair to destroy the best state in the country is what he's doing.
Fair enough. Well, Robert, you made your point, man.
Yeah, and Trump's gay, dude. Trump's gay.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm pretty sure I see him in the chat talk all sorts of crap. Like, if it's the same guy, I don't even know why I take his calls. But I know he likes us, and maybe I'm overreacting. Like, you know, like messed up people like us, and we love them. But anyways, you know, it's like I don't even know if he even likes. I don't know if you guys have even noticed, but he doesn't even. I don't think he likes me at all. He doesn't like anything I say or anything. He even wants to have a conversation. So anyways, moving on here. 888-775-3773. Shall we do this? You know, speaking on the man, there's a lot of things kind of going on, and we'll see how they go. Big things in the question mark: war with Iran, these tariffs and all that. But to me, you know, Trump at every turn is attempting to have imagination and true vision on his singular mission, which is to put America first. And I don't see anybody else trying. Okay, I don't see anybody else trying to do that. And on that, it seems to me, in my lifetime, there's this almost blasting of the Overton window on what's even allowed to be talked about. Because consider for a moment that you had the Trump awakening, and people are like, yeah, we're just so SJW, we're going to be offensive and we don't care. That same crowd gets uncomfortable with racism. That same crowd gets uncomfortable if you start saying, hey, you know what? These homeless people, they want to be there. They want to be there, and we got to stop giving them money. Well, hold on. We could be reasonable. So what I'm describing there is simply this Overton window of what's in the allowed discourse, what your average person, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter, what's in this range of acceptable things. Because even with Trump coming in, right, you start telling, hey, guys, you know, but the civil rights movement was a big mistake. And you suddenly, MAGA hat wearing, yeah, we're done with getting offended. Words don't offend us anymore. Crowd is suddenly like, whoa, hold on, man. You're sounding like a racist person. You're sounding like you're sounding like one of those Dixiecrats. What do you want? What do you like? You know what I'm saying? Like, the civil rights was a mistake. But so it's seemingly, I'm seeing more and more this Overton window switching, like things that you couldn't say. Like, for example, imagine this, going up against welfare. Isn't Section 8 part of this huge chunk of the government spending that goes to programs? It's like the military's a giant chunk. The vast majority, giant chunk of the pie, welfare and social services. And then a little bit is like everything else. In a battle against transgender rights, Trump targets HUD's, the Department of Housing and Urban Development's housing policies. And the story here, detailed by the AP, kicks it off with the the story of I believe a transgender. As a transgender man, the words, "you're a girl," gutted Taz Webster, a taunt hurled at him from the day he moved into his St. Louis apartment. That's born a girl, born a female. This is Taz. The government subsidized building manager also insisted on calling Webster by the wrong name. The 38-year-old said and ridiculed him with shouts of, "You're not a real man." You're getting a little bit of Taz's story here as a little bit of a sob story. And as the media attempts to demonize Trump's actions, okay? Because the news is basically this: a request for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The White House called the current system of federal rental assistance dysfunctional and proposed essentially ending Section 8. Hold on. Proposed essentially ending Section 8 and other housing voucher programs. Hold on. And other housing programs. Its plan calls for cutting rental aid by about 40% and sending that money to states to design their own rental assistance programs based on their unique needs and preferences. So, yeah, Section 8. I mean, are you even familiar with that? When did they start doing all this? When was Section 8 started? And you know what? When was the HUD started for that matter? You know, because that's handled by them. It's handled by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They use it's called Section 8, formerly known as the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Helps low-income individuals and families afford safe and decent housing in the private market. So the government basically telling private landowners, landlords, etc., how they should price their housing. And it's all that is. If you're familiar with how that kind of stuff works, that money doesn't just, that price decrease is just not just in a vacuum. That money gets made up somewhere else. The landlords, the owners, etc., that money gets made up somewhere else. And that is usually the people not on Section 8. Redistribution of wealth. Anyways, interesting moves from the administration. Going after sacred cows, so to speak, right? Sacred cows. You cannot touch welfare. You cannot touch these things. When's the last time you actually heard any politician? Now, I've been only following since almost 10 years now. And I can't say I've ever heard a politician say, we're going to go after major welfare problems, like major sections of this welfare state. Anyways, I think we can move on, though. There was a little thing here, since we're talking about this. Section 8. You saw Pearl on Punchy. You saw Pearl on Punchy. She came to church. That was nice. It was great having her. Great stuff there. And soon after, now when was this? I got to say, when was May 4th? Was May 4th Sunday? Yeah, May 4th Sunday, she came to church. And whatever it was about church caused her so much enjoyment, joy. I mean, you could hear her chortling in delight at Jesse's various conversations with the congregants of church. You could check it out, rebuildingtheman.com/church. It was great. You could hear her chortling in delight as she's being entertained. As she said it multiple times, Jesse's funny. And whatever it was caused her to post this. She wrote, May 4th, an hour or so, a couple hours after church. I love black people. They are so friendly and fun. I just wish they would stop committing crimes. Just a little statement, right? Could you even fault her for that? Could you say she's a liar? Could you say anything other than whatever? It's just a statement. I mean, I wouldn't personally be up in arms about it, even if she was totally wrong, even if they never committed crimes. Someone said. People were not so happy about it. You know, just a little comment. I'm sure she was thinking about Jesse. I'm sure she was thinking about church when she wrote this. So she really was sincerely loving black people, in my opinion. Have you met Jesse? Everybody loves him, even if you hate him. But I gotta say, I think I saw her. I seen the sincerity when it was after church, right? I love black people. And a couple black conservatives even, I think they're conservatives. I personally don't have any problems with them. I don't really see their stuff, usually. But they seem like fine guys, I guess. C.J. Pearson, you might know him. Didn't he start off real young doing this? C.J. Pearson. He comes in with a quick response. Do white people not commit crimes? To Pearl Davis. So what? Do white people not commit crimes? It's like, okay. You know, she was making this little statement here. And can you say it's an untrue statement at all? Can you say it's even negative? It's a pretty positive statement, actually. But, you know, black conservatives, it's an interesting way they take that. They'll go, these ones in particular. And something I noticed, it's not really about black conservatives, but it's about people who are stuck with identities. Because here's the thing about identities, kind of like moralities imposed on us, we think that's us, and we have to justify this identity and live up to it. And one that's easy to point out and criticize, but I criticize so that we may understand and learn for betterment of all. But, you know, the fact remains, one that's easy to point out and criticize is black identity, right? Oh, I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican, I'm beyond racism, all that. But at the end of the day, I'm still holding on to this black identity because you can't, you know, someone responding like this, right? Do white people not commit crimes? Is honestly taking it a little personal and identifying with black people. She responds, not as many for sure. Not as many, that is for sure. Bryson Gray, you know, I like him too. I don't have a problem with him. He's a bit of a Bible thumper, and not even in like a fun way where you're still like you know, you're watching yourself, you know, you like you know, not even in a fun way. It's just kind of annoying sometimes. That's just my opinion. like very churchy. White people commit 70% of crime, he responds. Blacks and whites are overrepresented in crimes. Hispanics are overrepresented in crime. Asians are not. Now, what is that kind of comment? Like, isn't it the point, like incidents, like per capita? So so Asians don't commit crimes? Hispanics are overrepresented. Wait, now I'm confused. I just confused myself. This person is saying 70% of crime is committed by white people, but there's also more, right? So the point always comes down to like per capita. Like, what's that about? But what am I bringing up? I'm just bringing up how silly this is, right? How the identity thing, how silly it is. I think someone else put it better than I, but I can't find it. Some people are saying he's playing stupid. But whatever, you get the interaction, right? It's like I don't want to say what they're thinking. Now, that wouldn't be fair, but this is a common reaction when you're thinking racism, when you're have a knee-jerk reaction to defending a race kind of thing. But anyways, whatever. Side note, you know, Pearl, she brought up something interesting on the Punchy. You guys ever heard of a blepharoplasty? For real. Blepharoplasty. Are you familiar? You know, we were getting educated here a little bit with Pearl. And there are some procedures out there you would not have any idea. I waded into the darkness on the facts of plastic surgery, what kind of work exists out there, and you would not guess. Some of this stuff can be pretty under the radar, but significantly changing, and you would not guess otherwise. You really wouldn't. So have you ever heard of one of these? This one's called a blepharoplasty. Now, what they do here is they make these incisions above and below the eye, and they remove fat. They remove fat and tissue that would cause uneven wrinkles, etc. But the results on a little tiny little nip and tuck, on the little two incisions above and below the eye, can be pretty drastic. This guy on the left, what? Almost 50, under 40 on the right. Wouldn't you say? I mean, whoa. These are blepharoplasties. In some cases more dramatic than others, but it's all about the details, no more bags. Whoa. Blepharoplasty, you would never even guess. How much is How much is one of these? Let's say I had the cash. $2,000, And this is like a pretty permanent-ish type thing, no? I see women paying for that. Lip lifts. Lip fillers are for little girls or something. If you're really about it, you get a lip lift. And I'm joking about that a bit, but I'm actually thinking about younger cousins, family members with lip fillers. And they're young. Gen Z might be quite different in some ways, but a lip lift is essentially this area between your upper lip and your nose. This whole area, that whole area is shortened somehow. Literally shortened. Oh, well, I actually know how, but they make an incision right underneath the nose. They take out a little chunk of skin, then they close it all up, effectively raising your lip by shortening the space between the upper lip and the bottom of the nose. Imagine a chunk of skin right here, cut it out, and then you bring this part of the skin and you sew it up here to the nose, essentially giving you this lip lift, okay? And that one's permanent. There's no filler, and the filler is not going away. That one's permanent-ish. They got some life-changing surgeries up in here. Where was this one? They can even fix canthal tilt, canthoplasty. They can even fix the canthal tilt of your eyes. Very subtle. But a little nip, a little tuck there. And the actual angle, which your eyes are going, So, anyways, it's just like subtle things, right? But you wouldn't even know in some cases. You wouldn't even guess. I'm thinking about family members, actually. There might actually be a difference with these Gen Z women, The millennial in me still sees those girls. I don't really see them as the sex workers, but the Z in me knows the truth. These younger women, I know little younger family members. I'm like, what is causing you to get lip fillers and all this? Anyways, and you know how fast this starts happening? Aging, particularly. It happens faster than I thought. When you're growing up, you don't think about it. But I look at everybody. All my friends already got fat and bald. Straight up. They're already fat and bald and old. I'm like, damn, this stuff happens faster than you think. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of these people who goes around saying this about, like, for example, Melania Trump, like Pearl did. And, hey, maybe I'm a fool. Anne Hathaway, what do you think? How old is this woman? You know, I know women her age, and they're gray. A shout out to the, gray-haired, the one I'm thinking one is a pretty girl, so there's no hate. But Anne Hathaway, this woman is 42. Okay, never mind. Thought she was older than that. I hear that where is it? They say the speculators online, and far be it from me, right? That's what I'm trying to say. They say Anne Hathaway is not able to keep her looks at her age, or at least should not be able to. What do you all think? 42? You think it's impossible? Now, what is this? Come on. You're going to make this impossible to use? For real? Hold on, folks. Come on. What do you think? Is it adrenochrome? Is it adrenochrome and lip lifts? Or is that just a 42-year-old woman? You freaks. Is that just a 42-year-old woman at the Met Gala in 2025? You incels? Huh? What are you, an incel? What? Huh? What are you, an incel, Pearl? I don't know if Pearl said Anne had surgery, but she was saying Melania did, and people just wouldn't guess, I guess. But it happens faster than you think, and these people stay looking young. Anne Hathaway is a terrible woman, says David. In what way? As a person or her looks? Or like, what do you mean? Miss Holloway, Natalie Holloway. Anyways. It's a double-edged sword is what it is. We got a rowdy class, huh, Liesel? Got to bring the teacher in. Appreciate all the support, everybody, by the way. Thank you for the coffees. Thank you, Harmony, with the Super Chat. Says, I love Trump. Super Chats, thank you for that. Aaron, appreciate all that. Thank you, Jesper, and thank you all my supporters on D-Live, DJT. Very nice. Supporters and all that otherwise. Coffees, buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. Pinocchio's helicopter with some generous coffees. Thank you for that. Big coffees there. And more top supporters there. It's me and Pinocchio's helicopter. All the donations on D-Live. Thank you for that. Very nice. Very, very nice. Teresa, Anchor Baby's flexing. No. Nick gonna get a BBL. You think? Do you think I might look good with a BBL? I might get a lot of attention. If the women can get attention, if the women can get the attention, look, if you could be a woman and get a surgery and get a BBL and get a come up and get all sorts of motion in your life, why can't I? Why can't I? I should be able to do the same thing. In fact, I should do it and break some ground here. I, in fact, should do that. And, in fact, we should start the Anchor Baby BBL donation fund for this move because this is going to be a business move. This will be a business political move. I need to get a BBL and bring up my standing in life, opportunities, reputation, all that, attention, thanks to the BBL. So, a Brazilian butt lift. So, I think that's what we need to do. BBL smell, I heard. Is that true? They stink? Really? I'm going to email Jesse this clip and tell him you said this. I hope he's hearing me right now. BBL. We'll teach him a lesson. It'll be a lesson. It'll be. Yeah, Nick, good idea. See, some of you getting it. No, tell him. BBL fund. We're gonna get a BBL. We're gonna go viral, and we're gonna be like what is it, like dove? What do they say in the Bible? Like doves, but be like wolves, you know? But be like a wolf too, something like that in the Bible, you know? Like a wolf amongst doves, or is it like a dove amongst wolves? The point is, we need to get a BBL. BBL. BB hell. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. We need to see if you really need one, Nick. Get out of here, Teresa. I squat heavy. Don't stop at BBL, bro. Yeah, what do you think? Go all the way. That is too funny. That is too funny. BBLs in the modern world. I think I should get I'd be groundbreaking. I would be groundbreaking individual. So, male BBLs. Is that even a thing? Walmart shopper hurled in jail after a woman falsely accused him of child abduction is freed. Have you seen this one? It's hard to say whose side are you on. It's like, so the story goes basically, this woman claims this Indian man, this older Indian individual, Mahendra Patel, 57 years old, tried to abduct her poor child. This creepo tried to abduct a toddler, is the allegations. And he was swiftly thrown into jail because of some white woman's tears. White woman's tears are so powerful, they say. She'll get an Indian man thrown in jail. But video surveillance is showing that the story might not be what you think. And he might in fact have been a nice guy or something. And this woman might have thrown him in. But hold on. The twist, he's Indian. Who are you supporting? Who is wrong in the story? Obviously, him being Indian has nothing to do with it. But the evidence is supposedly the story goes. Sorry, something's in my eye. Pardon. Okay. The story basically goes, a Georgia father is accused of attempting to abduct a toddler in Walmart. He's been released on bail after a judge watched bombshell footage that attorneys say exposes his female accuser as a liar. Mahendra Patel, 57, languished in jail since he was arrested in March, following an interaction with mother of two, Caroline Miller, in a Walmart store in Georgia. Miller alleged that Patel attempted to kidnap her 2-year-old son after he stopped to ask her where the Tylenol was, leading to what she described as a tug of war over the child in the aisles. However, the release of surveillance footage has led many to cast doubt over Miller's claims, as Patel was seen merely conversing with the mother as she pointed him towards the medication. Patel insisted that he grabbed the boy as he saw him falling off Miller's motorized shopping cart and attempted to save him. Patel's attorney said he acted like a father when he reached out to stop the child from falling. So the footage shown, is this an abductor? Is this an abductor trying to have a tug of war, attempting to abduct a child? I guess here he is conversing with the woman on a motorized scooter. You have to wonder what size she is to need a scooter at 26. But that's neither here nor there. You see these blobs in the image that I have to assume is Patel and the woman in the said chair. their arms are raised as she's pointing. He raises his arm, pointing to that direction. Ah, yes, thank you. Where is that deodorant? Ah, yes, aisle 4, sir. I think I saw it down there. And the pointing, and it seems this is that moment where he seems to grab this kid and then walks away, seemingly. Here she is smiling. There she was pictured smiling. Now, is that Patel? Is that the same guy? Anyways, cameras show Miller apparently unbothered by the interaction in the immediate aftermath. She was seen smiling and chatting with a man while Patel went about his business. Her claims that Patel fled the store have also been disproven by footage showing him paying for his goods and leaving. The father remained in custody since he was arrested 3 days after his interaction with Miller. So, a $10,000 bond, I don't really know the detail, but I found this somewhat interesting. You get some woman, and she could just make a claim. She could just yell out a claim, and you'll spend days in jail till they figure the validity of those claims. Patel, poor Patel. How could she? Now, where was I going with this? I don't know, but we don't have time. We are nearing the end of the show. Hope you've been enjoying the show today. You've been enjoying yourself a little Tuesday today. We got more Wednesday. We got coming back for more American Anchor Baby, of course. Excuse me. But what else was I saying here? We got more Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow, of course. More American Anchor Baby. We got Manhood Hour on the JLP show, the rest of the network, and of course some American Anchor Baby. But that's pretty much the topics, calls, super chats, and all that from today. We really done squeezed every drop out of that show. Kind of got to everything here, essentially. But I hope you enjoyed today's show. That's pretty much it from me. What can I say in the last few minutes here? There's this change in perceptions, Overton windows, etc. I don't know if it's all bad and all good. Plenty of criticisms people have about Trump, etc., where we're going and all that, immigration and all that, but it's not all bad. And good signs, I think, for what's beyond. We might get into that tomorrow. We might already be getting tastes of the GOP beyond Trump. What's it going to look like 2028? And honestly, if you ask me, I don't care about the politics of it all. Give me a man, a real man, and that's hard to see anywhere. We might get into that because it really speaks to what kind of politics we will get post-Trump, etc. But we are here watching, and it's not all bad. What was I getting at? And that's pretty much it, the show, okay? That's it from me. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow for more, okay? Bye for now. Peace.